At 85, Willie Nelson follows his own rules. He shattered one of his oldest recently. After years of solitude, he uttered something that shocked even his closest friends. One phrase and label can start a career of quiet remoteness, cracked open enough to reveal the truth. The artist he silently dubbed a snake was money involved? Ego? Something deeper? What prompted the nation's most peaceful outlaw to speak? Stay tuned. The name behind the silence may surprise you. The Bandana Man. Willie Nelson, a soft-spoken outlaw, has been considered as the calm center of country music's storm, surviving scandal, genre shifts, and industry politics with a smile. Willie wasn't angry or defensive when criticized, unlike many of his contemporaries. Instead, he let time and music speak. His love of marijuana and slow, reflective songs gave him a serene aura that made him seem impervious to country music's feuds and egos. According to his friends, Willie knew about his co-workers' betrayals and blind spots. He noticed more than he admitted. Over time, his quiet became a message. Though he rarely retaliated, Willie remembered every slight, deliberate or not. He doesn't react with pyrotechnics, but he may calmly close a door and never open it again. He remained above the fray for decades with prudence. But it also gave the idea that he never had personal or professional issues. Truth is more complicated. Despite his peace vow, Willie didn't accept disrespect. It indicated he picked his battles. He left when someone crossed a line without saying anything. That quiet, boundary setting was often misinterpreted as disinterest, but it was a conscious gesture of self-respect. Some claim Willie protested by remaining silent. He didn't need to air dirty laundry or attack the press. He avoided sharing a stage, song, or smile with someone who had lost his trust. He'd avoid queries about artists, deflect with humor, or tell a story that stated everything without identifying names in interviews. The pattern persisted for years. However, at 85, something has changed. Willie appears more open than ever to sharing the whole story, even the scars. Whether it's age, legacy, or no longer having anything to lose. Was he ever completely untainted by business drama, or did he just hide it better? These questions remain as we peel back the layers of a man known for peace, not passivity. Even a wordless man has one for deep cuts. Snake in grass. Nelson rarely criticized others in public for most of his career. That's why his unusual offhand comment to a close friend calling one artist a snake was surprising. No headlining or stage speaker used the term. In private, it was spoken gently. But those who knew Willie knew the weight of that single word. Not out of rage or spite. Due to disappointment. Willie doesn't use such language casually. He generally speaks when the wound is profound. What happened between Willie and this anonymous artist is unknown, but the emotional impact has lasted for years. His friends say it wasn't one big event. It was a sequence of minor betrayals, broken pledges, or an act that violated Willie's most valuable trust. Whatever the circumstances, he never addressed the person or made the quarrel public. It wasn't necessary. Willie always walks away without drama but with meaning. That silent departure may have spoken louder than any confrontation. It's notable that Willie has never identified the snake. Insiders and fans speculate. Some blame old colleagues who left, others rising stars who fought with his values behind closed doors. In classic Willie manner, he's left the mystery intact, maybe to avoid needless headlines or as a final gesture of grace for someone who didn't deserve another shot. Missing direct allegations doesn't undermine the statement. It makes it stronger. Willie's best tool has always been silence. What artist did he brand with that word? Was the betrayal about money, ego, or music? Unanswered questions persist. But one thing is certain. Willie Nelson's modest labeling of someone as a snake caused serious damage. It hit something irreparable. This narrative persists because of that. Its name and significance will be revealed later in this film. Clash with Toby Keith. It appeared Willie Nelson and Toby Keith were natural allies. Both are country music legends with strong personalities and dedicated fans. Their values and attitudes to music and public life were very different. Willie has always promoted togetherness via music, bridging generations, ideas, and cultures. After September 11th, Toby was known for his loud, strong, and occasionally divisive patriotism. Toby's music and public demeanor were centered on patriotism, which made Willie uncomfortable. After an early 2000s benefit event, their relationship looked to split down quietly. Willie participated because he believed it would aid veterans and mend divisions. When Toby took the stage, the mood changed. From backstage, the concert felt more like a political statement than a unifying message. Willie, who was off stage, was surprised by the show's aggression. Sources say he later said it wasn't about the music. The message wasn't what I signed up for. Soon after, Willie slowly distanced himself from Toby-related activities and appearances. It wasn't only ideology that caused this divide. It questioned music's function. To Willie, country music has always been about shared experience and storytelling. This is a place to contemplate, not argue. Toby's approach, albeit economically successful, struck Willie as showmanship wrapped in a flag, without the emotional depth he believes authentic country music requires. He reportedly called Toby's work too loud to hear the truth, a subtle but pointed criticism that went beyond artistic choice. Intentions clashed. Willie never publicly insulted Toby Keith but never worked with him again. When asked years later if he would perform with Toby, Willie replied, "Some things don't require repeated." The subsequent quiet wasn't to avoid controversy. He wanted to preserve country music's values. No shouting or headlines characterized this feud. It was a principled, quiet exit. Willie versus the machine. In the early 1970s, Willie Nelson faced a decision. He knew it wasn't working after years of attempting to fit into Nashville's tight music industry. The system promoted polished production, predictable topics, and a standard country artist. Willie was different with his raw songs, unique voice, and laid-back personality. He didn't care about radio hits or trends. He wanted to compose music on his own terms, authentic, honest, and uncensored. That drive led him to leave Nashville boldly. Willie's move to Austin, Texas was more than a transition. It was a subtle uprising that changed the genre. The Austin scene encouraged experimentation and individuality. Hippies, cowboys, and everyone in between fit in. Your outfit and songwriter were unimportant. Important was that the music feel true. Willie thrived in this new setting. Surrounded by performers who valued independence over formula, he helped develop the outlaw country movement, a loose band of artists that shunned Nashville for something real and genuine. Of course, his departure was noticed. Nashville execs and producers considered it a betrayal. Some didn't understand Willie's vision and called him difficult or washed up. His new music was slow to air on radio, and some industry insiders wrote him off. Willie didn't hesitate. He maintained making music he believed in rather than seeking approval. Red-Headed Stranger showed that outside the system successful albums were feasible. Willie left Nashville and taught others how to exist without it. None of Willie's feuds or public outbursts shaped this chapter. A subtle, planned stand against a conformist regime. By leaving, he preserved his voice and allowed many others to do the same. Willie Nelson's journey to Austin is one of the best examples of integrity overcoming industry pressure. Ray Price's brawl. In 2007, Willie Nelson had one of his rare public spats with Ray Price. A song joke started the incident. In one of his songs, Willie, known for his comedy and self-deprecation, made fun of Price's age, hinting he wasn't a spring bird. Ray Price didn't see it as a joke about their decades in the industry. He called
Willie a jackass in a snap, surprising fans and industry insiders. The tension was surprising because both men were veterans and had a long history of respect. After performing and touring together, they were considered country icons of the same generation. But this event showed how thin the line between playful mocking and perceived disrespect can be, especially for artists whose legacies are so wedded to their public image. For Ray Price, the joke seemed to diminish his relevancy and suggest that he had aged. Whether intentional or not, that sting was painful. To his credit, Willie didn't escalate. He didn't defend the lyric or respond. He kept his usual silence, letting the situation calm down. Reconciliation occurred between the men. After sending private messages, they reunited on better terms. The episode was one of Willie's few examples of humor being misinterpreted, and it highlighted how even legends may be temporarily fractured by little mistakes. While the public moved on swiftly, individuals close to the two men were reminded how fragile old friendships can be under the weight of long careers. Though neither artist was defined by the feud, it was a rare stain on Willie's diplomacy. It also showed that well-meaning statements may backfire, especially when pride and history are involved. Country music merges storytelling with personal honesty, so even jokes carry weight. While one old wound was healing, another relationship began to dissolve silently. Focus on Kris Kristofferson. Kris Kristofferson and Willie Nelson have one of country music's longest-running partnerships. After creating The Highwaymen with Waylon Jennings and Johnny Cash, their voices and ideas defined a generation of outlaw country. The companionship and creative chemistry were tempered by subtle conflict, especially when their artistic paths and personal values diverged. While they never had a public fight, acquaintances believe their friendship deteriorated over time due to differing views on music, activism, and identity. One major difference was politics. Kris Kristofferson is one of country music's most vocal political voices, speaking frankly on contentious matters. While politically active, notably on marijuana reform and family farming, Willie was more balanced and polite. In the beginning, their styles didn't matter, but as the culture changed and public remarks gained weight, the disparity grew more noticeable.
Friends say Willie sometimes felt caught in the middle, not wanting to offend fans or fellow musicians by siding too firmly. According to some, the true change occurred during a late 2000s political fundraiser where both singers performed. Chris reportedly called Willie a mascot rather than a musician backstage in a joke. Despite its offhandedness and warmth, the statement hurt. For someone who left a legacy of honesty and respect, being called a symbol instead of an artist was a veiled insult. While Willie never responded, insiders noticed a growing divide between them over the years. Never officially split, they were never enemies. The dynamic changed. Lower joint appearance. No new partnerships. Once easy talk slowed. Instead of a dramatic ending, two legends drifted apart. While the friendship they formed in their prime will always be part of country music history, the conflict afterwards reminds us, even friends can be influenced by words. The bright side of Nation. Willie Nelson has always championed genuine, honest, life-based country music. So when country started sounding like polished pop, he didn't applaud. Willie never directly chastised singers who took country commercially, but friends say he regularly complained about the genre losing its edge. For him, country music was never about image or chart dominance. The issue was authenticity. Few musicians embodied the pop country change more than Shania Twain. Shania Twain's emergence in the late 90s and early 2000s changed country music. She gained stardom with spectacular stage presentations, choreographed performances, and crossover radio successes. However, traditionalists like Willie saw it a departure from the genre's soul. Shania was talented. Willie never denied. He apparently thought her music was made for mass appeal rather than storytelling. In private talks, he allegedly called certain performances Vegas-clad in boots, a barb at direction rather than the person. A key occasion occurred during a prominent country music awards presentation. Shania's Entertainer of the Year triumph highlighted the industry's embrace of brighter, pop-infused music. In the audience that night was Willie. His clapping was unenthusiastic. Later, their backstage interaction revealed more. Smiley, cordial Shania extended her hand. Willie nodded but kept walking. Although not warm, it wasn't disrespectful. A rarely disapproving man made a frigid, wordless comment. Those who saw it understood. Willie wasn't mad. Disappointed. It wasn't a feud, and no one spoke publicly. However, Willie's silence spoke volumes. He never mentioned Shania again in interviews, or worked with any of her successors in pop country. For Willie, gatekeeping wasn't important. It aimed to preserve a tradition he feared was being lost to spectacle. Willie quietly retreated when country began sounding like pop with a southern accent, choosing to stay true to the genre he helped create. Broken brotherhood. These two artists were more than collaborators, brothers in arms. They pioneered the outlaw country movement by rejecting Nashville's polished demands for a grittier, more honest sound from the heart. Their collaboration, albums, tours, and unshakable relationship were legendary. They symbolized musical freedom and revolt. Even intimate bonds might break over time. They did so softly, gradually, and without the fanfare that usually precede the demise of a renowned couple. The tension came from tiny movements, not one dramatic moment. Whelan, a perfectionist, was reportedly frustrated by Willie's relaxed approach to life and music. In studio sessions, Willie would improvise lyrics, arrive late, or skip rehearsals. Whelan, who took the process seriously, sometimes interpreted that as inattention. He repeatedly yelled at Willie, asking him to get it together, or accusing him of being too stoned to act. Willie, cool, never retaliated. But such remarks were noticed. Their musical trajectories diverged over time. Willie pursued solo projects, advocacy, and partnerships with non-country artists. Whelan remained an outlaw, but he became disillusioned with Willie's focus on branding rather than music. Some close to the pair say Whelan's public interview when he joked that Willie was a hippie in cowboy boots who lost his roots was the final blow. Though meant as a joke, Willie's friends say the phrase stuck. They became farther apart after that. There was no public conflict, newspaper criticism, or tour cancellations. The quiet got louder than ever before. That comment hurt Willie, who values loyalty just as much as legacy. Whelan's fury may have lasted longer than expected. The story of a friendship that changed country music, and the quiet fallout that reminded audiences that legends can grow apart endures. Studio storm Willie Nelson has worked with country superstars and surprising cross-genre performers during his career. Not all pairings work. Willie never acknowledged his brief and catastrophic session with Kid Rock, although those who were there often gossip about it. A bold genre-bending track was expected from a one-time studio meeting. Instead, it collapsed almost immediately due to tension, miscommunication, and incompatible values. Insiders say Mutual Contacts loosely planned the partnership because they thought it could create something bold and unusual. Kid Rock brought excitement to the studio, but Willie didn't like it. One witness described loud outbursts, unneeded showmanship, and a complete disregard for the room's tone.
Willie, known for his calm and courteous nature, was uneasy as Kid Rock turned a creative session into a performance for attention. There was no single occurrence that disrupted the mood. Behavior accumulated steadily. Kid Rock reportedly criticized the instrumentation, demanded many takes without guidance, and called Willie's band too slow for this atmosphere. Willie, who considers music sacred and collaboration a sort of trust, found the room's vibe unsuitable, was offensive. Willie discreetly unplugged his guitar, thanked the sound engineer, and left without further comment. The message was plain. Not all collaborations are worth it. Today neither artist has addressed what went wrong, but their silence speaks volumes. No song was released, no follow-up session was scheduled, and no preparations were made to revive the idea. Walking away wasn't about ego for Willie. It was about standards. Respect, humility, and music must come first. After those things are gone, no name, hype, or chart success keeps him in the room. For those who know Willie, his silent exit from that session meant more than any outcry. Not known for leaving mid-recording, especially not in a firm where time, money, and reputation are always at stake. But Willie's leaving wasn't professional that day. The issue was values. He considers the creative process holy, based on respect, trust, and a shared emotional rhythm. Kid Rock's wild, ego-driven style completely shattered that rhythm. Not merely musical genres clashed. This was a basic purpose mismatch. Equally telling was the aftermath. Some people heard about the unsuccessful session shortly, but Willie never mentioned it. No interviews, clarifications, or digs. Silence was strategic, not passive. Friends claim it was his method of preserving music's dignity, even without collaboration. The session remains a
warning to producers and performers that not all major names belong on the same tune. Willie sees it as a rare but striking example of him creating a line with a quiet, unmistakable door closing. Willie left out names that spoke louder than those he lauded. A particular one stunned his group, a name that astonished his friends. After years of quiet and innuendo, Willie Nelson's friends believe they've found the artist he dubbed a snake. Willie has never officially confirmed the name, but his private comment, shared exclusively with selected friends, left fans and insiders guessing for years. Garth Brooks keeps popping up as a candidate. Even industry veterans were surprised. Garth and Willie appear calm on paper. When you look deeper, the elements align to make the notion impossible to deny. The split, if real, wasn't precipitated by one major incident. It was a steady buildup of artistic and personal contradiction. Garth Brooks, recognized for his record-breaking sales and stadium-filling concerts, has long been modern country's commercial pinnacle. Willie, who established his career on honesty and resisted corporate influence, saw Garth's stratospheric rise and deep ties to Nashville's economic machinery as a betrayal of the genre's foundations. Willie invited collaboration in the early 2000s, according to multiple sources. He was politely dismissed, but it didn't feel right. Not simply the refusal, it was done that way. A veteran member of Willie's team said Garth's agents aggressively denied the offer, saying Willie wasn't current enough for the crossover project they wanted. However overblown or misquoted, Willie took that criticism to heart and didn't confront anyone. For a man who values respect over significance, it may have been pivotal. Willie eventually ceased mentioning Garth, even when asked. Those familiar with his routines say that quiet is never accidental. Was Garth Brooks the snake, or just a bad sign of a country music change Willie couldn't accept? We may never know, but this is evident. Music is more than business for Willie Nelson. Trust, integrity, and shared purpose underpin it. Once trust is destroyed, even discreetly, it's hard to regain. If Willie quits talking about you, it's finished, said a close friend. Some insiders feel Willie and Garth's conflict reflected a larger cultural gap between country music's soul and its polished commercial growth. Willie championed misfits, storytellers, and those who wrote from the heart rather than marketing meetings all his life. Garth, however, was new, high production, and popular, and an empire based on show and melodies. That contrast seemed intimate and artistic. Garth's success may have sounded heartless to Willie, who saw music as truth-telling. In typical Willie manner, there was no public confrontation, no disguised lyrics or media attacks, just a steady decline. Willie often changed the topic or smiled vaguely when interviewers asked about Garth. He never denied talent, but he never promoted the guy. Those who knew him well saw that restraint. This was Willie's way of drawing a line in the sand without speaking. That one-word assessment, snake, remains a mystery, because it was disappointment, not drama. Having spent decades delivering more grace than pain, that disappointment may be the sharpest reality he's ever told. Thanks for watching. If you like this deep dive, like, comment, and subscribe for more music stories. Please continue. Country music's wildest corners has another undiscovered story. Click the next video.